everybody. Rich, Ed, and Eric again. Gentlemen, how are you all?
Doing
Good.
great, man.
Good, good. So today we have a really cool topic, right? We are going to talk about the relationships between material providers, and we've got a couple of superstars, and a very large fabricator and a medium fabricator, and how they work together, what they could do better, things that are bugging them, things that they think are going to happen in the future. I think it's just going to be, or I know it is because we just did it, right? A really interesting discussion. I apologize; it's a little longer than our normal ones, but we just there was so much information coming out. There was no way we could have just cut them off, right? So we've got Jeff Erickson, who owns one of the owners of Cutting Edge, which is a very large multi-state shop that is heavily involved with production builders, mostly big box, right? So there's a lot of, let's call it channel conflict that we're going to talk about. We've got Jerry Lee, who's in a smaller market, Kansas City, but he's one of the big players in the market, right? And Jerry's got some great perspectives on the bigger distributors versus the smaller, how he likes working with both sizes and all of that good stuff. And then we've got Katie Jensen from Triton. Triton's now in 34 states and about to take over the world. And and then Joe Dwyer, who's in 9. He's in my neck of the woods out of Detroit area. And so they both have been, I mean, it was funny. We all start talking about how long in the industry, and we had like a couple people were at 20-year anniversaries. We had a 30-year anniversary. It's like celebration month for everybody. So,
Yep.
but as just a tease to keep everyone on, guys, what was the one quick thing that you thought was really interesting that you heard from this?
Ed, you want to take it first?
I was going to toss it to you first. We covered so much ground, and it's tough. To me, I think, Rich, the fact we've got a cast of characters who were characters. We had some fun with this one, but who have so much experience in the industry, really deep perspectives and great perspectives and different perspectives. And I really like that aspect of this episode.
Yeah. I had two. One came from Jerry, but the difference between the large guy's serviceability and the smaller guys, I thought that was really direct and interesting. I liked that. And then we glossed over it a little bit, and I know that why we did, so they left unnamed, but there was a power play that happened with Jeff that cut a significant amount of their business, and it sounded like it happened twice to them from, two different major suppliers, and how that kind of played out. That was really interesting. Just
Yeah,
how
I think one was a customer, one was a supplier.
yeah. So
Yeah.
very, very interesting. So yeah.
And my favorite part was our very own Eric Rapp asked some amazing questions, right? So I thought everything you were throwing out there, you're out of the park today, Eric. So everybody enjoy the episode, and we'll see you on the back end of it. It's a long one, so we're just going to jump on real quickly at the end to share kind of our immediate thoughts afterwards. So everybody enjoy.
Enjoy.
Hey, folks, welcome to the Stone Chatter Podcast. Really appreciate you joining us today. Before we get started, we'd like to kind of know who's who here. I think our listeners kind of know the three musketeers or whatever we want to call ourselves. But if we could have our guests introduce themselves, I'll call on you by name. But if you give us your name, your business name, what your role is in the business, and just a quick thumbnail sketch of your background. Katie, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I'm Katie Jensen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Triton Stone Group. So we're based in New Orleans. We're importers and distributors. I started the company with my family 20 years ago. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So
Congrats.
thanks. Yeah, it's
You
been
were
an amazing.
12?
I was 23.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's been a great journey, and we have a number of locations across the country, mostly covering the east side of the Mississippi.
Is it 34, Katie? Real fast, 34 total? Is that
Yep, uh-huh. Yep.
got it?
So
Eric can read. Wow.
They read at a fifth grade level, so 34 is easy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Jerry.
Oh, I'm Jerry Lee. I'm the owner of Canaan Stoneworks, CSW. We've been in business 21 years. I'm the founder of the business. We cover basically the Kansas City metro Midwest region here.
Okay.
Good size
Great.
shop, right? Medium size shop.
Medium.
Good, yeah, good size for Kansas City. And Jerry, your background, you came out of corporate, right? So you look at your business a little different than a lot of shop owners, right? Who kind of came up from installation and started the business.
Possibly. Yeah, I came from corporate, so yes, I'm used to running the metrics, the numbers. We look at it more from that basis than we do anything else. I couldn't fabricate a piece of granite if I had to, so no, that wouldn't be for me.
Yep. You're doing what all shops should be doing, looking at the numbers, running it by the numbers. Okay. Jeff.
Okay, Jeff Erickson. I am one of three co-founders of Cutting Edge Countertops. We're located in a suburb of Toledo, Ohio. We operate in three states, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. We have one hard surface plant. We have a hub and spoke model that we supply the other areas. We also do laminate solid surface. We purchased L.E. Smith Company a year and a half, 2 years ago, and so we do that as well, and that's another big part of our business now. We are also celebrating 20 years, ironically, and yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff.
And you were 50 though when you started the business, right?
Yeah. You love to touch on my age. I know that. But yeah, it's all good. Our titles are founding partners. I hate titles. I think founding partners is about all the title I'll ever have.
Great.
Thanks, Jeff.
Super. Joe?
And grandpa eventually.
I hope
Thanks,
so.
Yeah, I'm Joe Dwyer with Dwyer Marble and Stone, CEO and founder also. Founded the business 30 years ago this year with myself and
Yeah.
three brothers, actually. Prior to that, I spent another 10 years in the industry with one of the tile distributors locally in Michigan and Ohio. We service about 9 states around the Midwest. Typically, like Jeff, more of a hub and spoke. We've got 3 physical brick and mortar locations. I would tell you my role is CEO and complaint department, depending on what day it is and who's calling. Yeah, we handle our company is made up really of 2 divisions. It's the slab distribution division, and then a portion of what we do is still commercial tile and stone, interior, exterior flooring, cladding, that sort of thing. So thanks for having me here, and look forward to it.
Yeah.
Great.
Are the brothers still in the business?
All 4.
Wow.
All 4 of us. And all still alive.
They still talk to each other.
And friends, right?
Well, yeah. We have Thanksgiving dinner.
Yep.
There you go. That's awesome.
Good
That's
deal.
good.
Awesome.
Well, I usually cut Ed off when he's doing the intros, but with this premium guest list that we have, I didn't want to do that. So appreciate all of you for your intros. I'm going to work this one backwards. So we were with Joe to end, so I'll give you a little bit of blurb on that. And we usually have kind of a crack, and the running joke is who gave birth to children, right? And it was Joe. So anyway, we'll start there. But his is hilarious to me because I've experienced this firsthand. But his first container offload was in 1996, and it's him and his brothers, and they essentially need a crane to offload a soft top. If you've offloaded a soft top, it retracts, right? You can grab it from the top, and they go and rent a crane, and it is the most. He has a picture of it. It's the most gigantic crane that I've ever seen. It's meant for a construction site, like if you're lifting a building onto another building, that's the crane you use. And they drew straws. So out of the brothers, they drew straws, and the accountant was the one that got to drive it because they didn't want to pay $600 to have a driver. And so I think it took 8 hours. Is that accurate, Joe?
8 hours from our first container.
It's efficient. I mean, that's really good. Really good. Cool. To Jeff. Jeff, I had to pull teeth. Jeff's a humble guy, but I did feed his lips, and then he did give me some context. So he is actually an accomplished volleyball player. And here's what's interesting. Most people decide that they're just going to talk about high school and college, what they were able to do. That's when Jeff got into, I think it's the MPVA tour for volleyball after college. Is that accurate, Jeff?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so when most people are hanging everything up, you decided that you were going to get into the MPVA tour. You told me it was kind of a small tour, and you guys kind of did a 10-year stint. Give me just a little context of that,
It's
because
kind of
that's really
along the theme of me not wanting to grow up. So
okay.
I spent time from my early 20s to my mid 30s.
Okay.
Actually, we had our oldest, Gretchen, and she was 2 years old. I remember dragging her to one of my last tournaments. So
Okay.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was a lifestyle for a lot of years. Met a lot of great people, some lifelong friends, and it was a great, healthy lifestyle. And
Yep.
I would do it again if I had the chance.
And you said you made tens of dollars, but the best benefit, you were sponsored by Miller Lite. So the
No,
beer,
I wasn't personally sponsored by Miller Lite. The tour was
the
sponsored
tour
by
was.
Miller Lite. Yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
That's awesome. And then he's got some three incredible kids real fast. One's a bowls dancer, just finished up, I think. Middle kid, art director for Ralph Lauren. Did I get that right?
yep, that's right.
And then the oldest is my favorite because she came to Park City to be a ski instructor. So
Yes, and
I
a
love
little
that.
side note to that,
Yeah,
Katie has used Gretchen
Yeah, she's
several
love my
times on
kids.
several. Yeah,
that's
Hmm.
awesome.
My
I
kids
love
love Gretchen.
I love that. Real quick on Jerry. So Jerry, this is incredible stat for me. Married 51 years, so he got married when he was 10. That's illegal, by the way, Jerry, even in
Yeah.
Kansas.
Not in Utah,
Um,
Eric. Eric, not in Utah.
That,
on Utah, but other than that, 51 years. They've got twins. The other interesting part, Jerry, is in your kiddos, the twins also had twins. Is that accurate?
that's correct.
That's
Aw.
amazing.
wow.
I love that. And then Jerry didn't start his own business until the ripe age of 48, which, Jerry, I love that about you. I jumped out of corporate America when I was 46, so really kind of similar time frame. And I have no idea what I'm doing, by the way. So
Me neither.
if this
We're still
failed,
going.
I'm sleeping on Rich's couch. So yeah, that's awesome. Good information from you, Mr. Jerry. And then the last one, Miss Katie. This one's super interesting. 6 total continents you've been to, Miss Katie.
Hmm.
And number
Just
7
missing
is
the cold one. Not
number.
going there.
You're not
No
going there.
penguins.
Got it. Studied abroad in Australia.
Hmm.
Is this college? Is this high school? What time frame was that? I forgot to ask.
That was college. Yeah, my sophomore
College.
year of college. Yeah.
Okay, cool. A full
Study
year.
is a loose term, very loose, but I was there.
Okay, I love it. And then the best part of this, water ski team in college. Tell me on that because number one, I didn't know that was a thing. And when you say water ski team, I think of like they're in the pillar on top of each other's shoulders.
Oh,
Is
that would be cool. Yes. No, that
that it?
wasn't it.
No, that wasn't it. Okay, tell me a little more.
But yeah, there was a club team. I went to Chapel Hill. So yeah, you like water ski through the buoys, back and forth. So
Okay,
Okay.
had a
that's
lot of
awesome.
good memories and tournaments. So, it's a
Very
fun
cool.
thing to do.
Love it.
Do you still get out once a year just to make sure you can still do it?
I do, yeah, frequently actually. So enjoy it. All my kids know how to ski. So yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I appreciate all of you to give me the information. I think it's good for our viewers to see the personal side of everyone that's on there, especially with such premium list of attendees as you guys. So thank you. Ed, I'll turn it back over. Sorry for cutting off.
That's all right. Good information. Always good to have some fun here. As we were putting together this episode, we got to thinking back to the quote good old days unquote. Back when, in order to buy products from distributors or from manufacturers, you actually had to be approved. You had to be certified. When I started in the industry back in 01, 02, if you wanted to buy a Zodiac from DuPont had to come in, do an inspection, and approve you as a fabricator. Obviously, that's changed. And as we got to thinking about some of the impact of that, we're looking at kind of the relationship between slab suppliers and fabricators. It seemed to be a strong, productive relationship back then, but it doesn't feel like that's the case today. So what we want to do is ask you folks to start off with, do you think it's changed? Is it still a strong, productive relationship? And and also, does it matter that it is a strong and productive relationship? So we want to kind of kick off the discussion with that and just kind of get your thoughts. And I'm sure we'll cover a lot of different tacks and discussions as we go. But Katie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I can really only speak from Triton's perspective. We always value our fabricators as partners. And I think the way that we've been able to grow so quickly over these past 20 years is truly just because of that. We want our customers to succeed. We want to partner with them and we want to help them grow. And if that's working together with them to maybe go get some builder colors or go, change some specs over to our colors in alignment with the fabricators, that's in essence how we've kind of chosen to go to market with larger scale products. I think you are correct. I would say in the past 10 years, there's been a lot more disruption in the industry from, both manufacturers and distributors who've kind of bypassed fabricators. They'll go direct to builders, they'll go direct to home stores, and it misaligns the fabricator distributor relationship in our opinion. So I'm sure, the fabricators have more perspective from that in dealing with different distributors. But, we've always felt that our success is closely aligned with our customers. And if we can partner with them together, there's more opportunity for us.
Great. I like how you said an alignment. When you say an alignment, Katie, what does that mean to you? So like let's say a builder spec, right? And they've got a gold Carrera in that builder spec. Is the alignment of the price point, the look? I mean, tell me how you guys have kind of achieved that alignment with the fabricators for these programs.
Yeah, I would say indirectly, we get a lot of business because of the relationship that we have with the fabricator. They might come to us and say, "Hey, do you have this, right? Gold Carrera, or whatever we want to call it." And we
Yep.
can offer them a close equivalent, make sure pricing is there and all the things that you have to have at base level. And the fact that they want to work with us is because we make it easy, right? We service them on sinks and tools, also on the slab front. So that's that kind of alignment. Whereas maybe another manufacturer or distributor got their gold Carrera spec,
Yep.
but because of the relationship that we create, we're able to work, alongside with them to get our product in there.
Yeah, love that. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, as a fabricator, do you see things the same way as what Katie described?
Yeah, I reflected on that answer myself, and then I also called our primary or our manager of purchasing to get his input. And I don't think things have changed. I think that relationships have always been important. They're always going to be important. I think that one group can't exist without the other. I mean, if all the fabricators just got material direct, we wouldn't need distributors, but we can't do that. And that we each bring the value side of the arrangement, and so that you can't have one without the other. I will shout out, touching on relationships. The two distributors on this call. I know both of them. I know Katie probably a little bit better because we served on the NSI board together. In Katie's world, pretty much everything is a huge party. Katie, am I right?
Jeff,
New
life's too
Orleans.
short.
So,
Life's too short.
but what I mean by that is they are so good at really focusing on relationships. They do that within their company and they do that externally outside the company. So, and Joe, I mean, both of you guys are such good people. I've known you guys for so many years, and you guys just are upstanding people, and your companies reflect that. So I just wanted to make sure I say that. So I don't think it's really
Thanks, Joe.
changed, to be honest. It's not. I think there's a lot of the same dynamics. We'll say this. Katie touched on it. I wrote it down as a something to note is that fabricators, it's better for us to have fewer materials that we offer to the market because of yields and just lots of nuances and complexities that have to do with fabrication. It does not benefit us to cut 300 different colors, okay? That being said, a lot of manufacturers and distributors are pushing down the demand into showrooms that we service. So now you've got this pull-through marketing, which is good. I mean, we would probably, as a fabricator, do the same thing you guys did to do that pull-through marketing. I mean, everyone has to do what's right for the business, but that does run counter to what's important to the fabricator. So I would say there is a rub with that on that particular note, but you just got to work through it. I mean, it's not like I don't understand why the distributor or manufacturer does that. We understand why they do it. It's just not, it's counter to what we want. So, but at the end of the day, the relationships are really what matter. John told me a story. Like, we didn't buy from Triton right away. I didn't know Triton. Triton wasn't even in our area. And I got to know Katie. She's a force of nature, as most of you who know her can attest.
Yep.
So I introduced her. She came down for dinner. She had dinner with Brian, my partner, because he primarily handles all the purchasing for our company. And Katie's a hard person not to like, and so we started buying from them. And but that's not really where the relationship was cemented. It was cemented. We had a big multi-family job down in Columbus, and we had just an absolute sea of Valley Novato, right, Katie? Like,
Yeah.
literally truckloads upon truckloads. She says, "Can't you buy something a little more valuable?"
Jeff, anything else that I can tell you?
But John told me that they were so accommodating with that project. They made sure we never faltered and always had supply, and they went above and beyond. And that is the point at which Triton kind of slipped in and became a strong supplier for cutting edge. And it wasn't to me, and it wasn't to Brian, my partner. It was to John, our purchaser, that the relationship was cemented. So, all good stuff. And Dwyer, Joe took us to the Final Four when Michigan State played University of North Carolina, Katie, in the final.
Oh, man.
They basically had 6 professionals on their team at the time. And but yeah, we went to both games with Joe Dwyer, the three partners, and Joe took us, and it was a great time. And
awesome.
we do business with Dwyer as well. So
Jeff, how long ago was that project that kind of solidified Katie with you all?
Yeah.
I want to say it was in 2023.
Okay.
Kind of lasted the whole year.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me give context to that, because I'm intimately, obviously as an importer of nature.
You didn't have any Valley Novato. You were out.
We were out. Val was out. Valley Novato, Bengal White. Katie, that's impressive because no one could get it. Even if they were paying cash against documents, you could not get it. So that's super impressive. Great story on that.
All right, so Joe, we've heard from a distributor and a fabricator. What are your thoughts on how the relationship between suppliers and fabricators has changed over the last 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, I think I probably mirror a lot of Katie's sentiments in that my first thought is that I won't say the relationship is everything, but it's absolutely paramount in what I would say is a successful interaction, right? And when you ask, have the relationships changed over the last 20 years or so? I also agree that I don't think the relationships have changed. I just think there's a lot more noise in the industry, right? And I made a note that said, when there were 20 to 30 key distributors and half as many fabricators, it was a lot easier to build those relationships and sustain those relationships. And I think, as Jeff even mentioned, you've seen all kinds of an influx of manufacturers from all over the world. You've seen, fabricators double, triple, and quadruple in number. And I think a lot of it puts pressure on the industry in general, right? Meaning, it puts price pressure on the fabricators. It puts price pressure in some instances on distribution. Because everybody's trying to push that number down. And then you add to that what I would say are economic, ebbs and flows, and it just creates a lot more noise. And so I don't think the relationship is any less important. I think it's just there's a lot more industry noise around it. And to Katie's point, the last 10 years, starting with the anti-dumpings from China and India, moved straight into COVID, and then all of the freight issues. And it's been a solid 9 close to 10 years of just
Upheaval.
chaos in the industry.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and to me, quite frankly, through that chaos, I think it's even more important that you've got a great rapport with your fabricators. You can communicate what's happening, and hopefully, not that we can always anticipate the outcome, but at least certainly let them know that we're there to work through it with them, right? And so, no, I truly believe the relationship is still really the heart of what we do. And helping to support them from an educational perspective, from an industry knowledge perspective. And then, I don't think we have as much fun as Katie, according to everybody I'm listening to, but we try and have a little fun anyway.
A little fun. Hey, I like
Not a
basketball.
water ski team, bro. Like, what are you gonna do?
So is there, so you guys are both good sized distributors. Is there, though, do you think, a delineation? And we don't want anybody to talk bad about their competitors, but do you think the really large guys, right, the public companies, the multinational companies, do you think they have the same vision of the relationship as you? Or because you don't have their size, or for whatever reason, it becomes more important for you all to feel this way? And, I guess that's for you guys and, and for the fabricators. Do you get that warm water skiing feeling from, the big guys, or is it just transactional?
Jerry, you got any feedback on that? How's your relationship with the bigs?
Not good. They're very difficult to do business with.
Okay.
We find candidly dealing with your company over there, Triton, and I'll say the U.S. manufacturers, MSI's got a local. We're actually very blessed in that we have several large distributors within 8 or 9 minutes of our shop.
Sure.
So we feel like we're very blessed with service on that front. But I do feel like that over the years we've been able to develop much better relationships with the Triton. We've got a local company called ASME, MSI downtown. Again, whether we're supposed to be speaking names or not names, but the larger guys, they're just very hard to do business with. It's hard to understand their system sometimes just for our purchasing people to get through it and order what they need. But overall, I would parrot what I've heard so far is that I think the relationships, number one, are absolutely critical, especially for a smaller guy like me. In order to have those kind of relationships, I can rely on for getting competitive pricing and good service. Because it's not just price points. It's how we can, it's more impactful to me to have it on time when I need it, and on the other half, good quality product when I need it, so that we can fulfill our obligation to the customer. But we've always felt that our relationships with our vendors were absolutely critical. We actually work hard on our end to try to maintain those through the good times and the bad times, and we all had those. So yeah, I guess I'm really glad to hear on the podcast that the relationships in most cases, I think everybody feels are still pretty strong.
Yep.
If there's, from my perspective, a smaller market area probably, and being a small to mid-sized shop, is going back to Ed, when you mentioned the certification of whether it be from Cosentino or any of the other court suppliers, but on those, I completely forgot about that because I remember going through that process. And if number one, it made you feel special, but it did make you special because then you could buy a product that your competitors could not buy. And so it gave you a little bit of a heads up. So from my perspective would be if the distributors would focus really on the marketplace and who they can truly partner with. But I don't always feel like I'm not sure I feel like I get that extra treatment for being a good partner. I just feel like the guy down the street is going to get the same deal that I'm going to get, the same service level I'm going to get. And maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem like that is always reflected back.
Yeah.
Jerry, is part of that the fact that, and I don't know if Joe and Katie do this or not, but I hear a lot about distributors have what's called a kind of a cash window. Anybody with a pickup truck and enough Benjamins can roll up and buy a few slabs, load them up, and haul off. And they know the company name. They got an EIN number, a tax number, and that's it. Is it the fact that those kinds of things happen in the industry? Is that part of what doesn't make you feel special, or are there other things that you're looking for?
No, I think that's a part of it, no question, because again, I don't know, maybe being a small market, I don't know what the others are like. But yeah, I think we've got, in our small area, we've probably got 40 of those small fabricators that are probably cut and dry in the back of the storage room somewhere. And so they're, they do as Jeff, I think you mentioned, or maybe it was you, Joe, that it compresses our margins because we try not to go head to head with those kind of guys too often because they're not that big a factor, but they still compress margins in a marketplace. We've lost builders to them because they will, if things are really tough, they really start cutting prices. And what I found, and I guess probably the frustrating, is that once we lose a builder or a contractor to a small shop, it seems like we never get them back. And it's not because they stay with that shop. It's because there's almost that feeling that they left us in, I don't know, an embarrassment to come back through the front door. We try to make sure we keep a welcome mat open all the time, but it does cause a loss of business for us on occasion when we're fighting those guys.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ed, I want to take this for a second because everyone's been legitimately pretty nice about it. But there was one thing I was talking to Rich, about. But back when I've worked for two of the biggest, distributors in the U.S., and so I like speaking on this subject. But there was a thing that they started doing a few years ago, and it was this speed dating for builders. And I remember hearing that term, and I'm like, what? What are you doing? Like, oh, we're going to Dallas. We're going to do this speed dating for builders. It's interesting because I don't know who the first company was, and I don't want to assume who it was, but it was one of the bigger. And they went and they started dating these builders and contractors, going to, Jeff's clients and Jerry's clients. And I think the first one that did it set the precedent that everyone then had to do that, right? Or they're going to get cut out of that pie. And so I want to give a little rebuttal on this. I've seen that division happen because whether it's by necessity or they want to control their own destiny, we've seen this happen. Specifically, the one I was referencing with Rich, there is a huge front-loaded bonus when these guys sign these contracts with the big builders, right? And I was instrumental in a few of these, so I could speak firsthand, right? That some of these are six-figure numbers on the signing of the contract, and typically it's a 3-year exclusive, and then there's also a back-end rebate depending on what product offering they use. So, in contention of what's been shared, I do think that whoever started it really set this precedent that these guys are going to go and they're going to control their destiny through financial means. And I don't know if all fabricators know how valuable these contracts are with these larger, entities. So I do want to at least put that out there. I don't know if any of you have a context or rebuttal for that.
You guys seeing that in any of your dealings?
I can make a comment from our perspective. We're definitely seeing our market share be eaten away by these distributors that are going direct to builders. Where in the past, perhaps the fabricator, we have a good relationship with them, they bought from us, and then all of a sudden, it's a Friday, and then on Monday they're like, hey, sorry, we can't buy from you anymore, right? This builder is telling me I have to buy from XYZ. So we're seeing it increasingly where the fabricator, it wants to do the work, which is fine, but the builder is dictating where to buy the material from. So I think in that instance, we are definitely seeing an uptick in that. And a lot of it is even in natural stone, right? I know quartz is one whole thing, but we honestly positioned ourselves in the market as very strong with natural stone. And now we're seeing some of our natural stone market share be taken away because of, like Eric, you said, they're writing. I heard it was a 7-figure number for a builder. So they're like, sorry, we can't buy stone from you anymore.
Right.
Because then the fabricator might lose the work, which we don't want that to happen to him either.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Katie, I can piggyback on that. I can tell you openly that up until about 2008, we were doing business with we did almost all of the Pulte business up in our area, and we had a good chunk of the Toll Brothers business. And during that 0809 slowdown is when we saw a lot of those national accounts and national assignments being done, whether it was, depending on, we won't name names or who the manufacturers or distributors were that did it, but that was a chunk of business that we ended up losing. Now, prior to losing it, what we continued to feel is that downward pricing pressure from the builders. And the builders, and I would liken it almost to the big box business where they get you in and they'll start you at one point and then they just keep ratcheting it down and down and down, and to the
You're
point
like,
where,
I'm not even interested, right? You don't want to play that game.
yeah, at some point there's really no money left in it. And
Right.
so while it hurts the volume to walk away from it, I can't truly say that we lost a lot of profitability when it walked
Sure.
away. It hurts more egotistical than anything, but you find that you can quickly make up that margin if you change your focus, and we did, right? But to your point,
Right.
Eric, yeah, there's a lot of that national account work that's happening today.
Yeah.
Are you guys forced to do it because you are losing that work, or have you been able to kind of stay away?
No, so for instance, with the Pulte and the Toll Brothers, we don't do any of it anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Yeah,
you were able to make that back up by pivoting. Is that accurate, Joe?
for sure, for sure. You change your focus on the segment of the market that you're focusing on, geographies, things like that, and there's certainly enough business out there to make it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and it might be that number that you wouldn't have really wanted, right? We had a meeting with a really large national one. This is our buddy in Colorado that just sold his shop.
Top shop.
Yeah, but he gave me the number and crazy installed 25 with materials delivered to their job site. Like it's just that crazy number of like, what? There's how does that even work? Like, and people were taking it. People were lining up to take it with this idea that volume equates to profit and it just never does, right? There's
Did
not
you
enough
say
volume.
$25 installed per square foot revenue number? Wow. What's the material cost out of that?
That's what I'm saying. I don't even know. I mean, they were trying to hit basic quartz, but it was crazy. We tried to throw a number at it on a cut to size, and it's like, dude, I can't even fathom because your install is going to put you above that. So
Wow.
just interesting. But to what Joe was saying, maybe he missed, having to deal with that all the way to the bottom. So anyway.
And I really saw this, and then we can move on. When I was working with the Rockheads, large supplier, national supplier, went in at the highest levels and I mean, essentially won the work, and they were able to just handpick whoever they wanted to do it, right? Doesn't matter if the shops were working with those, big box locations for years and years. They were able to, at their whim, basically replace whomever they wanted. And it was amazing. It was really eye-opening to me that they had that much power. I always figured they could recommend one or two. Maybe they like this guy a little better. But for them to basically have a clean sheet and say, these stores are going to this guy, these stores are going to this girl, it was really eye-opening to me.
I feel like you're talking about us, Rich.
You weren't the only ones.
So yeah, without naming names, we there was 200 stores for a box store displaced as an experiment with a new vendor, and our company owned 67 of those stores. We were doing a good job based on objective information and good
Nationally,
feedback.
you were the highest rated, I believe, Jeff, on the VOC score.
Yeah. So overnight, like with no regard for the service component at all. Sorry, these 67 stores are going to go to somebody else now. Sorry about your luck. Feel horrible for you, but see ya. So that does sting. But you know what? Life isn't fair, and you just have to like roll with that. When that stuff happens, you just got to figure it out and go to the next thing. I mean, what choice do you have?
It stings
You know,
like
I
a 45 in the foot. That's what it stings like.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you're hitting on something I think is important because I'm thinking about our listeners and I'm thinking about shops that I've talked to where they're a $3, $4, $5 million shop. They want to grow, so they see big boxes as an opportunity, and so they want to go out and tackle, Lowe's, Home Depot, Costco, whomever. And what you're talking about is the fact that there can be no loyalty in those relationships sometimes. But you're also talking about the reality of, okay, you live that life, the rug got pulled out from under you on those stores, then you had to pivot. Well, what did your pivot look like? Was it a pivot toward value and redefining your market? Did you do more retail? How did you overcome that huge gaping hole in your schedule?
Ouch.
So I will say this: you find other opportunities and you go get them and do that. And in regards to this, it's interesting. Even within the box store itself, there was a faction of that box store that handled the service part of the business and was very important to them. They know how hard it is to get a good, reliable supplier which results in happy customers or otherwise.
Mhm.
And you know, so the part of the company that didn't deal with the service is the one that made the decision. So within the company itself, you have one part of the company making a decision they felt was good, but it actually wasn't good for the other part that was like, oh, I have to take on all these new suppliers. I don't know them. I don't know if they could do a good job. So yeah, it's not like they were all on the same page, is my point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
classic
Yeah.
large corporation, very siloed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we heard the testament right from the horse's mouths as well. So like I don't know, it just is what it is. And you pivot. What does it look like? In 2012, we got cut off by Cambria. At the time, I don't remember how many sales we were doing at the time. It was probably 6 or 8 million in top line, and Cambria was 40% of our sales, and they came in one day and said, "We're not selling to you anymore." So that was a pivot.
Wow.
That was a really big pivot, and that's sheer panic when that happens. And yeah, again, life isn't fair. Don't spend a lot of time crying about it. Just go and fix it.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, to me, this is all pointing, and I'm really good friends with Roop Shah, and I love it. This is all pointing towards going to smaller distributors. I mean, it just, it's just amazing me. Yeah, it's 40%. And we've all heard the Cambria stories of how they, turn people off and sometimes sue them, all of that. I would imagine Katie and Joe, that's not the ball game that you guys are. You're not just walking away. When you do stop selling to a fabricator, if you ever do, I mean, I imagine it's different. I mean, it's payment. It's valid reasons, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a few options of why you wouldn't. But truly our goal is to, like I said, like work with them. How can we grow our market share together, have more of their wallet? I mean, I kind of think it's interesting though. I think there are some players in our industry that are too big to ignore, right? I mean, I have, a number of stories I'm sure we all know of the people who got, you know, screwed by X, Y, or Z, right? Pick your option. But yet, if there's a project or something where their material is spec'd, they're still going to do that work. So I feel like it almost empowers these individuals to like continue on in the path, right? Minimize the different layers, go direct to the source, and then they just power through. So like how do you combat that? You have to work via relationships. And like Joe said, you find other pieces of the market that you want because I don't think it's worth it trying. We can't go head to head with them, right? But with their resources and space across the country. So
Yeah.
So Katie and Joe, thinking about dealing with fabricators, are there certain criteria that you look for in fab shops as you go to expand in different areas? You look for new customers. For example, do you guys sell to shops that cut totally dry? What kind of minimum criteria do you folks have for your customers?
So I think I can. I'll answer if you don't mind, Katie, first.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I'll go back. I'll go back 30 years to when we first got into the slab business. One of the prerequisites that we had was a salesperson had to go to the shop initially and verify that minimally they had a bridge saw there, right? And again, that was before a lot of the automated equipment was really
Yeah.
making it
Mhm.
onto the scene. And the reality there was that you wanted to protect the people that had made the investment, right? And even, while there may have been a guy with a rail saw that was starting out, I would tell you it was few and far between, right? It really was minimally a bridge saw with the appropriate shop to be able to do something, right? None of the roll-up doors, none of the dry cutting, none of the I'm doing it in my garage type of business. And so that to me still stands today, and even more so with all of the silica issues that are happening. And not now it's gone well beyond that. And looking at who we really choose to try and I would say partner with, and I agree with Katie that it's really about developing market share and brand awareness and things like that. But you're looking for people, quite frankly, that also value the relationship, right? Time is an investment, right? And so the investment that goes into building these relationships needs to have an ROI on it on both sides, right? So for the likes of Jeff and Jerry, and then the likes of the distribution people, right? There has to be an ROI on both sides. And so if we can't help you grow, right, what good, I hate to say it, right, are we to you? And so I think there's a pretty good, strong bond and tie with us and the customer.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, Katie.
No, I was just gonna say I definitely agree, and I mean I think that's our philosophy as well. I mean we're actually cashless, so that cuts down on a lot of those issues as well. But I think the challenge that we deal with, Joe, is perhaps we're operating in this kind of segment of we want to build relationships, we want to work with good shops, we want them to be safe. And then, of course, in any industry, there's going to be bad actors, right? Who are just going to be like, I'll sell to anyone. So
For sure.
that's what kind of I think is a challenge with the breadth of our industry and how many people can wake up and be a distributor, right? I'm going to import 2 boxes and then start to sell it into the market. So I think that noise, right? You talked about noise, is definitely something that's a challenge for all of us. I think at all different levels.
Yeah.
So
Completely
going back
agree.
to some of the notes I took with John, our purchaser, he used the word dependable. And I said, what does that mean to you? And he said, literally quote, he said, we're doing more business today with Dwyer than we did 4 years ago. And he said, Dwyer is very, very dependable. Um, and so for him, I said, well, what does it mean to not be dependable? And he said, well, you get with some people and dates slide and you've got a job dependent on that showing up on time. And then they call you, or maybe they don't call you and they just don't show up. So dependability was a huge thing for him. I think also going back to where the relationship was cemented with Triton, John said they were they were they were accommodating without too much formality. And that really resonated with me because we are so guilty of that at Cutting Edge. We sometimes we get so formal that we forget there's a person at the other end of the line. You just, some of our customers, quite frankly, you know, just want a handshake. They don't want to fill out a credit app. They don't want to do all this stuff, right? I mean, you have to have some formality
Yeah.
to it, but also you have to feel small. Doesn't matter your size, right? So he said that Triton actually moved material without purchase order. It was just a promise. We said we're going to need this, and they didn't require anything formal to do it. They just did it, and so we can all learn from that. So what are we going to do for our customers that shows a little bit of trust, and then they
Mhm.
return that trust on the other side of that relationship, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
Jerry, you told me an interesting story about your old purchaser, right? So let's flip the
Yeah.
coin on this relationship thing, right? That that had such good relationships that maybe they weren't making the right decisions for the business. Can you add a little flavor to that?
Oh, exactly right. We had it was actually my daughter was the purchaser. She's actually moved on to a different career now. No, nothing I had to do with it. She decided to move on to a different career. But she developed a very strong, friendly relationship with our rep, one of the reps of our big suppliers. And I noticed that our business with him just kept climbing and climbing. And in some cases, I knew that we could get that product better somewhere else, but that relationship was there. So I kind of counteracted that one a little bit by taking a little bit more control back of that relationship. Yes, the relationships are really important. And like I say, but it's got to be pragmatic. You've got to make the decisions on a pragmatic basis also. You know, it's interesting when you have these conversations, whether it be with Katie or Joe or us as fabricators, is that we all have the same issues, just on different levels or different scales. And I've got most of my builders and contractors come in here, and just like you say, Jeff, they just want to work on a handshake. You know, here's my plans. Can you get it installed by next Thursday?
Yeah, and it
and
is
we,
as foolish as that can be, it also creates the strongest relationships.
Yep.
It does. It really does. So we're working on the same note, and it is something. As I said, MSI was one of the biggest suppliers here for the longest time, a little before you came here, Katie. But it is I will say with somebody like that, we are at the very end of the tail of that dog. So when corporate whips, we get whipped hard, and so we're at the tail end of it. We don't find that with our other distributors. It's they don't have that corporate level of decision process that eliminates the local decision process.
So I have a question for the panel. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm in really bad shape and Katie gives me another shot of Fireball, do I take that as am I supposed to take that as a positive thing, or is she actually trying to hurt me in
Finish
some
you
way?
off.
Liberty, Jeff. I think it was 11:30. You know, past midnight, Jeff.
No, it was not.
You have to use your own words. You pivot and you just work through it. Life is hard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hard. You can do
Life
it,
is
Jeff.
not fair, Jeff.
Power
It's not
through it.
fair.
I love it. Hey,
Uh-huh.
a real quick one on this, because we've talked a lot about this episode, and I love the back and forth with you guys. But one of the things that we've brought up, and this was an interesting take from one of our first episodes, and we don't want to be the silicosis guys by any means. But it was brought up when Evan and Jessica, so Evan with Quality Marble, former NSI president. I'm glad they fired him and got you, Jeff. We really have the leadership we need. And then also Jessica, who's the president of Carrigreen. But both, they're in the role of Joe and Katie in this instance. But they were going back and forth, and Jessica really pressed Evan, and I was interested because he said, I want the liability to be on me, and I would be okay with that to manage and maintain. Am I only selling to shops that are certified? And I thought it was super interesting on that front, because I think, to your guys' point, right? We've gone away from that as there's been this influx of overseas, people that are willing to sell to really a lot of different people if the money's right. On your guys' point, Katie and Joe, are you guys open to that? If the liability, let's say silicosis becomes more widespread than we're seeing now, you see the restrictions, you see the bans, and you see OSHA really come down. Are you two both in that same take as Evan, that he wants to be responsible to making sure that Jeff and Jerry are certified and doing the right things? I mean, are you both, and you can both answer it individually, but are you both open to that? Is that the solution here?
So you're saying Evan wants to have his own possible inspectors to go inspect all his customers? Is that what he was implying?
Inspect his certification of the client. So for him, if he has Jeff and he has Jerry as his clients, right? OSHA comes in and they inspect. Okay, let me see cutting edge. Okay, they certify. You went and visited the shop, following best practices, blah blah blah. Perfect. That's great. follow up, Jerry, it looks like you haven't been there for 18 months. What's going on there? We're probably going to do an inspection, further investigation. That's kind of what he was getting at. And it was surprising, I think, to all of us, Ed, Rich, and I, that he took that tack. And I wanted to get you guys' feedback on that. And his was more of solution based because we can talk about this all we want, right? But the
Sure.
fact is, further restrictions might not eliminate this. We might need to go at it a different way and have the liability maybe fall on a little bit heavier on the distributors. So I just wanted to get your guys' take on that because it was surprising to us when he said that.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I'm not sure exactly, the context of his comment, but I think a licensure program would be wonderful, right? I'd love to know who is a good, you have licensed electrician, licensed plumbers. I don't think it's out of the realm of ordinary that we could get to a point where a good, safe shop is licensed.
Yeah.
And then distributors want to be good actors, will follow that same line.
Yeah.
I think it's a goal and it should be something that the industry tries to work towards. Absolutely.
Yeah, love that. Thanks, Katie. Joe, hot seat.
I echo Katie's sentiment. I agree that because there's a lot of bad actors, I think licensing and or certifying, whatever you want to call it, on the fabrication side, it forces the people to keep their employees healthy. Now, if you're asking me, do I want to be the one to oversee and to certify? My answer to that is absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? That liability,
Yeah.
in my opinion, cannot fall back on distribution.
Right.
The licensing and things like that has to fall on a third party disinterested, right? And then now, can we validate that someone is licensed prior to selling? Certainly, if the database is available and accessible and all that other good stuff, we absolutely can. Without going deep, I still believe that, there's going to be a lot of cleanup that has to take place, for all of this framework to come into play.
Yep, for sure.
Do
And
you guys believe that any of your current customers are reselling out the back door? No.
I would say no.
Good. Good. Yeah.
Ed, you had mentioned this just real quick, the blurb on this of kind of this framework. You had mentioned NIOSH. Can you give a little bit on that and what they've been doing? You were the one that told Rich and I about that. But NIOSH compiling a list or something, you'd mentioned a little bit about that.
Yeah, NIOSH is the research arm of national OSHA at the federal level. What they've done is they've started a project that's been underway, I think, for at least a year or two. They're trying to identify every fabricator in the country. They want name, address, phone number, the whole bit. And while it hasn't been stated, I think the easy conclusion from that is they're not doing this just so they can send them Christmas cards. They're doing this because there's probably going to be a focused enforcement from OSHA nationwide on the issue of silicosis. So I think that's coming, and that's just Ed's personal opinion. That $4 will get you a cup of coffee downtown. But it kind of leads to my next question for the whole panel is as we look ahead, silicosis is one issue, certification potential issue is what California is looking at right now. I think there's a vote coming up. I think Eric, late May sometime, late this month.
Yep. They should do it before the next Cal OSHA meeting. So in the next week or two, we should have the House bill vote and then Cal OSHA right after.
And we're recording this on the 5th of May. So Cinco de Mayo, I guess it is. So that's coming up pretty soon. By the time you hear this, we may already know the results of that vote for that bill. But we got some things changing in the landscape. We got tariff issues, we got the ITC, we got all sorts of other stuff going on. So for the panel, what challenges do you see coming at us over the next several years that the relationship between suppliers and fabricators needs to be stronger? Some things that may impact that relationship, the nature of that relationship. How do you kind of read the tea leaves looking ahead a little bit?
Great question.
Did I stump the panel?
Oh.
Panel is stumped.
How long do the rest of you guys have?
All right, start it off, Joe. What you got?
Well, I think depending on which of those topics you choose, whether it's tariffs or silicosis or all of that other stuff, I think they all have their own set of I'd say opportunities, shall we call them, to to have conversation with fabricators. I mean, take just as an example, the certification of fabricators, right? If that certification happens, think about today, and I don't have the answers. How many fabricators out there today are there that either are not certified or will not get certified? And if you took that book of business and handed it back to the likes of Jerry and Jeff, how quickly are they going to be able to come up to speed to handle that
Sure.
influx of fabrication? And what tolerance do they have for risk that OSHA is going to be able to enforce that and push that business back their way? I think it's a massive opportunity with a massive amount of potential risk on the fabrication side. And
Hey,
so,
Joe, what do you
yeah,
can you quantify that a little bit? What do you think in the overall industry? What percent of the industry total volume is that? Like 10%, 40%? What's your gut tell you?
if
Half.
I use my 80/20 rule, right? Does does the 20, what percentage of, is it 20% of the fabricators that are quality or air quality certified today? And I don't have that number, right? So it really is a guess. And then what percentage of the business do they do? Because a lot of times it's usually the larger shops that are certified, right? So is it 20% of the fabricators doing 40% of the work? I don't know, right? And if that's the case, is it 60% that's going to have to be absorbed? Some of those fabricators will become certified, but how many, how fast, right? And then how quickly does OSHA get to the shops and force that certification? So I think there's a huge question mark there that could present a tremendous amount of opportunity in the fabrication side of things.
Yeah.
And then on the tariff side of things, I think that there's still a lot that remains to be seen after that Section 201 gets resolved, and then the dust settles and the noise comes out of the industry at that level. Again, I think there's just a ton of movement and turbulence still that remains to be dealt with.
Good
So
word.
what impact does that have
Yeah.
on the relationship between suppliers and fabricators, you think? All those things put together.
Stay locked arm in arm, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything's taught us the last 6 years, I mean, honestly, for us, like since COVID, it's been one thing after another, right? Navigating
Yep.
through, I mean, you name it happened to us. And I think the stronger you can be with your customers and work through it and find solutions, right? I mean, the ITC ruling came out and immediately we're like, okay, if we can't do quartz, here's all your options on natural stone, right? Can we go to 1.5 cm granite? Like, just giving your customers options to help them navigate, I think, is a really important component of working together. So, what's your problem? How can I help solve it? And I think, who knows, there's going to be so many problems, but if you can work together with your customer, that's how you get through it and you still maintain that relationship and growth.
For sure.
Rich and I were on a Rockheads call, and this is before he fired me because I couldn't read at a fifth grade level. But when I was still gainfully employed with Rich at the Rockheads, we had one of our Thursday calls, and I remember a question being asked. I don't even remember who posed it. It might have been Rich, but it was, as a wholesaler, what can these fabricators do to be a better partner with you? And I think it came from Rich, but I like that question because I hadn't been asked that before. And I've went back to that a few times, but pose this, Katie, to you and to Joe. What can Jerry, what can Jeff do to be better partners with you? I mean, what are you guys looking for? Obviously, you have those that you love, and you can't say that out loud, so I'll say it for you. But there's certain clients that you love more than others. So what are those common traits with those fabricators, right? Where you refer them more, you give them preferred pricing, you help them if there's a issue with a blemish slab. Tell me more on that real quick, because that was an interesting question that Rich had posed.
Yeah, I mean, I think from our perspective, it's how can we grow together? How can we help you? I mean, I think Triton's a little diversified because we do not just sell slabs. We're also a very large sink distributor. We have our showrooms where we sell tile, and then we have our whole fabrication, end of it where we sell the fabrication tools in our vans. So, I think working together with our customer and making sure we're maximizing what they need. My goal is that they can buy more things from less people, keep it simple. They know my credit team, they know the sales rep, and that the fact that we can service them on all of those fronts, and be competitive. Let's be clear, right? It has to be the right price, good quality, all those things. That's base level. But if we can grow with them on those different segments of the market, then to me, that's a true partnership, right? We're bending over backwards maybe to sell you a $10 sink. It's like, hey, can we also work on the slabs or the tools perhaps, right? So just trying to kind of work together with them is really how we see the growth happening.
Joe, how does Jeff improve his relationship with you? How does he become your number one fabricator?
Jeff, all I ever ask for is 80% of the revenue. That's all I want.
Buy everything from him, right? It's perfect.
No. Katie, I'm not greedy.
Oh, just 80. It's perfect.
I don't want
Just
it
80.
all.
Just 80.
Just 80%.
No, I think it's a great question, and I would actually turn it around also and say, well, I think how can we be a better partner to you, right? And the strength of the partnership is in us knowing and understanding your business, right? And very much to what Katie says, how do we help you? Right. And I made a note to that and I said communication, right? Communication is so paramount in any relationship, right? And it has to be clear, concise, direct. If it hurts, you got to tell me anyways, right? Because it's the only way we get right down to brass tacks. I tell people all the time, look, we're in the stone business. We put big heavy rocks on big heavy trucks, right? And the reality is, because we're in the stone and the quartz and the porcelain business, right, we have problems. There's no question about it. This industry is not without its challenges. And so knowing that we're going to face those challenges together, we have to be able to move through them and get past them. And I think when a relationship is strong, I think everybody understands it. We understand what your struggle is, and the last thing you want to do is stop that manufacturing process. So we need to be able to do whatever we can do to help you keep those machines up and running. It's how you make your money, right? And likewise, right? We always ask for just a little grace when things don't go the way they're supposed to go. And eventually, if you do enough business together, you're going to hit that point, right? So I think that two-way communication is really it's crucial to making the world go round, so to speak.
So Jeff and Jerry, as we look ahead and sort of kind of get to where we start to wrap this up a little bit, what do you guys see as challenges coming at the industry from a fabricator's perspective? What do you need from suppliers to help navigate those challenges?
Well, from a small to mid-size, the biggest challenge that I see, but of course, what we're all fighting it is the unknown, the uncertainties that we have out there today. It's really hard to get into contracts with, we're again a small market. Lennar is one of our first real production builders we've had come into the area, and we've been fortunate enough to look like win the business. But he's looking for some prefab material. He's obviously looking to get the lowest bottom price on 2cm material. And he's also looking for some guaranteed pricing, which is, I think he also understands is very difficult at this point. But the biggest challenge is, I don't know, from my perspective, sometimes I think I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. If I just did a better job myself, we can make things better. But what I'm hearing from everybody is that we all have the same agenda. We're all trying to create safe shops out there. We're all trying to create partnerships that allow us to both grow our businesses on both ends of it. And that is going to take a consolidated effort, as you said, Joe, with great communication on a regular basis. I would love to see my suppliers bringing me more business. Just let me know. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember the last time. I think I've had one call in the last year where somebody said, hey, we heard of a commercial contract getting bid. We try to go find them, but it just doesn't seem like we get, again, back to that special treatment. I feel like we work hard to build the relationships. It doesn't always come back in the same way. And I'm not, again, seems like the more we stay with the smaller servers, actually the better treatment we do get. But we haven't had that many options in this area up until you came into town, Katie. It was one before that was just a real local guy that sold slabs, and he was bought out by Arc Surfaces a few years ago, and then they just closed up here. So that's changed. But yeah, from us, it's the unknowns we have out there. We're trying to fight a silicosis battle, worrying about OSHA walking in our front door every day. The labor rates, inflation rates, tariffs. I mean, it's so many unknowns out there. It's just so hard to run the business every day.
Yeah. Well, and here's the conundrum I just heard from you, Jerry, is you want the suppliers to bring you business, but you don't want them talking to those customers because then they can force the business somewhere else. Right?
Exactly.
So we
really haven't in our little market. I really haven't run into that yet. Again, we haven't had the big Pulte's and Toll Brothers and those guys in this area that they would be approaching. Kansas City has always been known. At one point, we had over 700 licensed builders in the Kansas City metro area. Pulte came to town and they stayed about 5 years and left. And they said it's just too hard. Too many different municipalities. I guess there was all kinds of regulation issues, things like that. But so we're just now getting to where we have a production builder in the Kansas City market.
So just thinking about what you would ask from your suppliers, is the visibility to products and not having things surprisingly back ordered, is that where it needs to be, or is there some improvement that could be done there?
I'd have to give my purchasing department, because I do believe that the portals are there that give us pretty good visibility into inventories. So on our level, I mean, we're buying, a big job to me is I'll buy 30 or 40 slabs, which is I know that's not a big number. So we don't run into it a whole lot.
Okay. Jeff, what can they do for you?
I guess I don't look at it as much like that. I think that literally probably 90% of your challenges and problems, all you have to do is walk over to the bathroom and look in the mirror. Honestly, and you said it already, Jerry. It's right. I mean, that there are circumstances that come down the pike that are going to affect us. I think about Katie. I think about Evan with his, last I checked, 63 lawsuits. Now, he didn't do anything to deserve those. He has no control over it. If he looks in the mirror, it's not going to help him. It's beyond his control, right? So, we all have to fight that fight. And I personally don't think that the silica issue is coming from more than a very, very single digit, small amount of people. And it's being amplified by the plaintiff attorney coalition. It's no coincidence that there were local news pieces being done on the dangers of countertop fabrication in these different local markets, which I find really interesting, right? So it's the plaintiff coalition attorneys that are drumming up attention and concern and jump on the bandwagon. It's a gold rush, so I don't know. As far as like banding together with suppliers, I mean, we should always all be looking for a win-win. I don't want to do any business with anybody, regardless of what the stakes are. If you're not looking out for my interest and yours both, I just don't really want to be around you, to be honest. I don't know. It's not that complex. So just don't be around those people that you don't want to be around, and work with people you want to work with.
Have Fireball at 2 a.m.
Yeah, that's
tough, Jeff.
Well, relationships always are critical, and as we've got all the challenges everybody's mentioned coming at us, I think they'll be even more important. I think that's the consensus we're hearing from everybody. Before we wrap up, any closing thoughts? Anything we haven't covered you think we need to dip into real quick? Any additional thoughts you guys want to close us out with?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me.
I know. Great discussion. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got a teaser real
Same
quick.
here.
We talked about this. I want to get their opinion on this. Do the four panelists feel like these fabrication organization groups help the industry? And obviously we've got, someone that's a little biased with Jeff, with NSI, but do they feel like these organizations are going to help us get through all of it? Is it important for them to be involved with these organizations, your Rockheads, your SFA, your ISFA, your NSI? Just a quick blurb on that, because we're talking about possibly having all of them band together and we're going to have them fight to the death to see who's the best organization.
You have an arm wrestle challenge.
Yeah, best because he's athletic.
Or the
So
fireball.
Are you
anyway,
selling
challenge, maybe.
seats? Are you selling seats for that event?
$10 a piece. Yep.
If it's
My money's on
fireball-
Lori.
If it's a fireball
Buying
challenge, I think
buying a
Jeff
suit
wins.
for
isn't it?
that one.
Yeah.
Look, I think we all serve a little bit of different purpose. We definitely overlap with a lot of things, but you know, if nobody goes to fight the fight, if nobody goes and sits at that table in front of Cal OSHA and talks some common sense to what's happening, this railroad train is just going to run down the track. And next thing you know, everyone's going to have respirators on for no reason. And it's already hard to get employees. I don't want to strap everybody up with a negative pressure suit, because that's going to be even harder. And it doesn't need to be that way. And so, like, somebody has to go deal with that. So, I think ISFA is able to, work on the licensure end of things and be the advocate for the fabricator with the ACMC that they're set the secretariat on. I think that's important. Somebody has to be the steward for natural stone. It's a fragmented industry. I mean, it's who. There's not a company behind it advocating for their own product. It's a bunch of small supplies of stone. And so I think that the Natural Stone Institute plays a vital role there with that, and other things with safety and things like that are obvious. Rockheads, I think they offer something a little bit different with regard to working on the business and the
Gear
finance.
sharing, stuff like that. Yeah.
Those type of things. I think, SFA has their own little corner of the world. I mean, they have the cage at the coverings and ties. So they show you how to actually hands-on do stuff. There's a need for that. So I don't know. I think there's room for everybody, to be honest, and there's going to be a little bit of overlap. And, we'll just keep them up till 2 a.m. and have Katie take care of the rest.
That's right.
Katie, you're going to be a very busy gal.
Yeah, right?
You got a lot of places to be.
I know. I gotta go.
All right.
Well, folks, I certainly do appreciate y'all joining us. Katie, Jeff, Jerry, and Joe, you've enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate all the different perspectives, and look forward to having you back maybe on a future episode at some point.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Sounds
Ed.
great. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks,
Everybody.
guys.
Nice to meet y'all.
Guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks very
Guys.
much. All right.
Bye-bye.
Guys, what an incredible freaking podcast. I asked some great questions, guys. And another thing, Rich is always harassing me because I can't stop moving. It's the ADD, I believe. I couldn't stop twisting. But Rich, if you count it, maybe only 3 twists in this one. So I think we did a great job. Man, the guys, what they gave to us, I thought we had some really good meat there. We're just rolling along. So I love what we're doing on the Stone Chatter. But I think we've given enough context. People have watched the episode. I think the real quick takeaways are there is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of changes coming up. And I think as these guys partner together in a better way, right, with Supplier and Fabricator, I think they can weather the storm that is inevitably coming better. Your guys' takeaway, Ed, what was the best takeaway for you from the episode?
Well, I think the key is as a fabricator, because my brain's always with the shop owners. As a fabricator, I think you've got to really take a close look at your suppliers and find folks like the ones we had on the call today. Not that I'm pushing them specifically, but they really exemplify, I think, that business mode of win-win. Working with a fabricator, a fabricator's got to look for suppliers who understand their business, willing to work with them, understand their challenges, can support them. Because working together, you're going to be stronger than being against each other. And I think that point came across loud and clear today.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, totally agree. I have two main thoughts. One is we're taping this right before Mother's Day, so my message would be call your mother, but I'm going to change it for this. Call your supplier, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't talked to your supplier in a while, maybe you've got a purchaser who does it, and you, as the owner of the business, you should be nurturing these relationships, right? I mean, that's what we heard loud and clear is, communication. They want to hear from you. Everybody knows and believes there's going to be some really turbulent times coming up with tariffs and silicosis and certifications and you name it, right? And I would rather be having a strong relationship with 30 the person who supplies 30% of the cost of my business than just hope that they're going to be there for me when this stuff starts happening. And then the other thing, so call them. The other thing this is not an easy solution, right? I mean, if it was, we wouldn't be talking about it, right? But, we hear, from the Jeff side, all right, these big guys, they're whining and dining executives, and then they get to pick who the fabricator is. That's not fair, right? Then we hear from Jerry, who says, well, I want my fabricator to bring me more business, right? It's like, well, you can't really have both, right? I mean, it's hard to do one without the other. So there's a very fine line between kind of satisfying both of those. And so I thought that was really interesting too.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the future. Obviously, we've talked about some really cool ones coming up. Rich, you had a little blurb on, a recap from all of the hearings that you've done in DC. So on that one, and then kind of some teasers. What are you guys hoping we cover in these next podcasts? So we'll start with you, Rich.
Yeah, sure. So one thing that just kept going through my mind when we were on this was at the first ITC hearing that I was a part of, the lawyer for the petitioners, right, which is the Cambrians and the Daltals, their lawyer brought up the brownie example. And if somebody hasn't heard it, basically what their attorney said, and this was how the big suppliers view the role of the fabricator, right, is that they buy all the ingredients for the brownie, right? They mix up all the ingredients of the brownie. They bake it to perfection, the brownie. And then all the fabricators do is cut a little square out and put that in, right? And you can imagine why there's angst between these channels if that's really the way that these guys view the role of the fabricator, right? And so I just hope there's more open dialogue, and and we all know that's a bunch of BS. What it takes to I mean, especially you, Ed, right? I mean, what it takes to do this. So that just kept going through my brain was, God, I just still can't believe that statement. Coming up, right, which is future shows, future discussions. The first lawsuit out of California, it was in Colorado, was just settled, right? And it's an interesting one. So on our next episode, we're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, it's almost like the guy was suing himself, right? So, but there was also, right, it was a kidney failure. It wasn't a lung failure. So, I mean, so there's some really interesting things that came out of that we're going to chat about. And then, Ed, you're our friendly know-it-all on kind of the integration, the vertical integration threats that are out there, right? It's not enough that we've got silicosis and tariffs and quotas and everything, but now we've got the potential where supply chains are being compressed either by big box stores or by intruders coming into our business. So what's the latest on that?
I think I'm an expert because I read one more article than you guys have. So if that's an expert, then I'm tag. I mean, we touched on it a little bit today with some of the relationships between the large slab suppliers and the large production builders and some of those things. But I think the big news in this arena is Wren. Wren just suddenly closing up shop and vacating the premises. Wren has left the building totally unannounced, and so. A lot of speculation on what's going on. We found some information we think may be helpful. So I think in our next podcast with the three of us kind of chatting, we'll dive into some of that. And well, actually, that's vertical integration. So that's probably going to be the podcast after that one. We'll get into Wren and some other things like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Wren.
Yep.
Don't
Crazy.
let the. I kept thinking. I kept seeing the AI generated pictures, right, that are out there, and I just kept thinking of the Boston Tea Party, right? It's just go back across the pond. We don't need your type here. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that company is spelled the same way that you spell the Carolina wren, which is our state bird here. And I keep, when I hear the name, I keep visualizing this bird on its back with its legs up in the air. You know, it's kind of died. It's a dead bird, dead duck, so to speak. Yeah.
Good one today. That was fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was good.
All right.
Awesome.
So look
Appreciate
for us
it.
to sit around and do some chatting next time, right?
Yep.
Sounds good. Awesome.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
See you guys.